Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar today. Uh, this is Shabaz. I'm a product manager in the Azure Network Security Customer Experience Engineering team here at Microsoft. Today we'll explore how to implement a zero trust architecture using Azure Firewall and Azure Web Application Firewall. This session will cover the fundamentals of both services, the evolving threat landscape, and a practical demonstration of how these tools work together to secure your cloud environments. So let's get started. Here's the agenda for today's session. We'll start with Azure Firewall overview, and then we'll cover the WAF overview. Then we'll also briefly discuss about the network and application threat landscape. Then we'll talk about the zero trust architecture. And finally, we'll demonstrate some of the scenarios. So let's get into the topic. So to begin with, let's go into the Azure Firewall overview. Azure Firewall is Microsoft's cloud-native, fully stateful firewall as a service that comes with built-in high availability and unrestricted cloud scalability. Some of the key benefits of Azure Firewall include network and application traffic filtering, built-in threat intelligence, blocking known malicious IPs and domains. It can be deployed and scaled in minutes, and Azure Firewall supports both east-west and north-south traffic filtering. So Azure Firewall comes in three different SKUs. The first one is the basic SKU. This is primarily for the SMB, small medium business segment. And then we have the standard SKU for the enterprise and government organizations. And finally, we have the premium SKU, which is tailored for high security environments. So this tiered approach ensures you only pay for the features you need while still getting enterprise grade protection where it matters the most. So a quick look into the differences between the three SKUs we have. So the basic SKU comes with essential network filtering, NAT, and threat intelligence only in alert-only mode. This is perfect for lightweight use cases, like I mentioned for SMBs. The standard SKU here can support or scale up to 30 Gbps. It comes with threat intelligence in both alert and deny modes, and also comes with web category filtering and custom DNS support. Whereas the premium SKU, it adds further advanced threat protection features like TLS inspection, IDPS, URL filtering for highly regulated or high security environments, and with scalability up to 100 Gbps. So this flexible SKU model lets you match your security needs to your business requirements. Now let's review some different use cases where you can implement the Azure Firewall in your environment. The first one is the VNet deployment. So basically you can place the firewall in a central hub VNet, then peer your spoke VNets to it. So this allows inspection of traffic between spokes to the internet or even on premises or any other cloud environments. The second scenario or use case we have is the virtual WAN. So here you deploy the firewall into a secured hub. So basically securing traffic between VNets, branch offices, and cross hub. But here the primary advantage is that this particular virtual WAN setup will come with automated route configuration that will ease out a lot of configuration on the UDS side. And then the final one is the forced tunnel mode. Here the internet breakout is going to happen via a third-party firewall deployed on-premise or elsewhere. So this is supported in both VNets and vWAN scenarios. So vWAN firewalls are default deployed in forced tunnel mode. So these deployment options provide flexibility for a wide range of enterprise scenarios. Now let's take a look at Azure WAF. So Azure WAF is a fully managed cloud native service that protects your web applications from common threats and vulnerabilities. So because it's a platform managed service, Microsoft handles patching, scaling, and updates, so you can focus on your applications. Azure WAF is highly available and scales globally, making it ideal for hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Now, if you look here, the Azure WAF comes in two variants, which is the first one is at the Azure front door level. So it is seamlessly integrated with Azure front door at the network edge, combining application acceleration, caching, and robust protection. And then the second variant is the integration with App Gateway. So This one offers dedicated protection for both public and private websites, ensuring comprehensive security against cyber threats, more tailored towards regional deployments, right? Now, if we look at the key features of Azure WAF, so it is equipped with pre-configured rules to guard against the OWASP top 10 threats, providing a solid foundation for web application security. The integration with Microsoft Threat Intelligence enhances bot protection, leveraging global insights to block malicious automated threats. Conditional rate limiting helps manage traffic flow, preventing overload and ensuring service availability. The powerful custom rules engine allows for tailored security measures, while geo-filtering and IP restriction capabilities add an extra layer of control. The HTTP parameter and size restriction features further refine protection, ensuring only legitimate requests are processed. Azure WAF's logging and metrics provide detailed insights for detection and alerts, allowing for prompt response and remediation through Sentinel integration, which is our cloud-native Azure SIEM solution. The ease of configuration through ARM templates, Portal, API, PowerShell, CLI, and Terraform makes Azure WAF a versatile and user-friendly solution for secure web applications. Now, let's take a quick look at different rule sets we have in Azure WAF. So the first one is the default rule set. So this is dynamically managed by WAF for reduced false positives. This is basically, it contains Microsoft Threat Intelligence rules for critical web vulnerabilities and CVEs. The core of this rule set is that it includes OWASP core rule sets, so which will protect our web application from various top 10 OWASP attacks and other web threats. Then we have the bot protection rule set. So this rule set basically stops malicious bots using threat intelligence and advanced techniques like reverse DNS lookups and user agent analysis. So this particular rule set categorizes and manages bots in three different categories like good bots, bad bots, and unknown bots. And finally, we have the custom rule set. This is more of scenario-specific customized rules for the specific environment. Now, these rules offer fine-grained control over HTTP traffic, IP filtering, rate limiting, and geo-filtering. So we can tailor policies to match app, user, and compliance needs as required. This combination of rule sets ensures you can adapt quickly to evolving threats while maintaining control over your security posture. Now, let's jump into our today's major topic, which is going to be Zero Trust model and defense in depth with Azure Firewall and Azure WAF. So if we try to understand what Zero Trust is, so Zero Trust is a modern cybersecurity framework built on the principle of never trust, always verify. So unlike traditional perimeter-based models that assume internet traffic is safe, Zero Trust treats every user, device, and application as untrusted by default. So whether the threat is inside or outside the network, it is by default untrusted. So it enforces continuous authentication, least privilege access, and micro-segmentation to minimize the attack surface and prevent lateral movement within the network. So it's effective for network security because there are some key benefits here. So by default, this model assumes breach. So it operates under the premise that compromise is inevitable. So it focuses on containment and rapid response. Also, there's granular access control. So in this model, we limit access to only what is necessary, reducing exposure and mitigating insider threats. There's also going to be continuous verification here. So basically, we can validate. So this model validates identity, device health, and context for every request, not just at the login stage. And the other advantage of Zero Trust is that we get enhanced visibility. So we can get real-time monitoring and analytics to detect anomalies and respond quickly. And finally, with the use of our Azure Network Security products, this supports modern cloud environments, so ideal for cloud, hybrid, and remote work scenarios where traditional perimeters no longer exist. And finally, and most importantly, the attack surface is going to be reduced through segmentation and adaptive policies. So these are some of the benefits of Zero Trust. Now let's move on to understand what are some of the network level threats we have. Firstly, there's port scanning and reconnaissance. So attackers start here, probing open ports and services to spot potential vulnerabilities that can exploit later. Now, after that, there's protocol exploits. These involve taking advantage of weaknesses in fundamental protocols like TCP, UDP, ICMP, or DNS. Some of the examples include SYN floods or fragmented packets, which can disrupt your network and open the door for further attacks. And then after that, we have the malware and command and control traffic. These are also some of the major concerns. This is when malicious outbound traffic is sent to known bad IP addresses or domains, usually to maintain botnet control or facilitate further compromise. We also have to watch out for data exfiltration. Here, the attackers try to sneak out sensitive information via authorized protocols like HTTP or HTTPS, making it harder to spot without the right defense in place. And finally, there's lateral movement. Once inside, attackers often attempt to move across the network using methods like RDP, SMB, and SSH to access other systems and expand their reach. So understanding these threats helps us shape a comprehensive security strategy that both detects and responds to suspicious activity before it can cause real harm. So this is exactly where Azure Firewall comes in, filtering both inbound and outbound traffic across all ports and protocols. So Azure Firewall leverages Microsoft Threat Intelligence to block known malicious IPs and domains in real time. It also offers features like we discussed TLS inspection to detect hidden threats in encrypted traffic and intrusion detection prevention with thousands of signatures updated daily and granular network application layer filtering. So by integrating Azure Firewall into your security fabric, you gain full visibility and strong defense against the network level threats we just discussed, thereby safeguarding your cloud environment comprehensively. Then if we look at the application layer, we see that threats here are evolving rapidly. So attackers are getting creative using techniques like SQL injection, command injection to compromise databases or manipulate backend systems. Another major risk is cross-site scripting, where attackers inject malicious scripts into web pages, putting users and data at risk. More advanced threats like HTTP request smuggling can split or manipulate web requests to bypass security controls. We also see attempts at file inclusion and path traversal, where attackers try to access sensitive files or directories that should remain hidden. On top of that, application layer DDoS attacks such as HTTP floods can overwhelm web services, making them unavailable to legitimate users. And then finally, there are bot-driven exploits like credential stuffing and scraping, which can drain resources or put users' accounts in jeopardy. So this is where Azure WAF comes in. It's designed from the ground up to tackle up these threats with pre-configured rules for the latest vulnerabilities, robust bot protection, and powerful custom filtering. With Azure WAF in place, organizations can defend their applications, staying ahead of modern attacks and keeping both their users and data secure. Now, when we combine all of this together, so generally when it comes to modern cloud security, it's all about building layers of protection that work together seamlessly. With Azure Firewall and Azure WAF together, you can secure both your network traffic at layer 3 and layer 4, and also your application traffic at layer 7, ensuring threats have nowhere to hide. You get comprehensive coverage that blocks a broad spectrum of threats, from IP-based attacks all the way to critical OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, and even large-scale DDoS attempts. By enforcing zero trust, every interaction is authenticated, authorized, and rigorously inspected, whether it's between devices in your network or applications in the cloud. So advanced threat intelligence further raises the bar. Built-in updates and intrusion detection prevention systems provide the latest protection against rapidly evolving global threats. And the most important aspect here is unified visibility. By using both the logging of firewall and WAF, we get the integrated logging analytics that empower you to monitor activity in real time, respond quickly to incidents, making your security team faster and more effective. So it is this proactive and holistic approach that lets organizations address risk from every angle, keeping data, users, and business operations secure against whatever comes next. So this is one of the architectural diagram where we can use both firewall and WAF together So here the WAF is on the front line, and then the traffic is going to the firewall before it hits our cloud workloads. Now, to understand this clearly, I'll just hand it over to Sai, who will be demonstrating how WAF and firewall can work together to defend against various threats. Sai, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shabaz. Hello, everyone. Let me start my screen. All right. Now that we've explored the theory behind Azure Firewall and Web Application Firewall, let's bring it to life with a hands-on demo. In this segment, we'll walk through real-world attack scenarios and observe how each protection layer responds, sometimes independently, sometimes together, to enforce zero trust and defense in-depth principles. So we'll start first by reviewing the architecture we've deployed, then simulate a few attacks, some targeting the network layer, others exploiting the application layer. By the end, you'll see not only what each service does, but why they're better together. So here's the setup we are going to be working with today. So at the edge, we have the Azure Application Gateway with WAF acting as the first line of defense for incoming web traffic. Behind it sits the Azure Firewall Premium, providing deep inspection and policy control. Finally, in the backend, we have a VM subnet. So this one, we have a VM subnet hosting our test application, in this case, an OWASP juice shop. So the traffic flow works like this. Requests from clients first reach the app gateway with WAF, which inspects for layer 7 attacks. And then the gateway subnet has a user-defined route that forwards all backend traffic destined for the backend VM to the Azure Firewall for further inspection. And then it reaches the backend. The backend subnet in turn also has a routes all outbound traffic, internet traffic through the same firewall using an UDR that forwards all internet traffic to the virtual appliance's IP address, which then forwards it to the internet after that, after applying its policies and checking for threats. So this way, all traffic inbound and outbound is inspected. So for today's test, we will access the backend in two ways. So first, via the app gateway IP, which is the 172.202.33.124 IP, and using the port 3000, that's where the juice shop is listening on. And then we're also going to reach the same backend via the Azure Firewall, which is on the IP 52.173.72.122 in port 3000. So we will do some attacks using both the entry points here. Via these IP addresses. By testing both paths, we can clearly see which attacks are stopped by the WAF, which are caught by the firewall, and how they complement each other. So remember that when WAF blocks the traffic, it will give an immediate 403 forbidden error, whereas with firewall, the connection never gets through. So eventually, WAF is going to give us a 504 error. All right, so with that, let's start off with our demo. Okay, so first, this is the application gateway entry point for our backend, which is the WASP juice shop, and this is the firewall IP address. So let's start with doing some attacks here. So I'm going to start with some layer 7 attacks on the WAF. So I'm going to attach this as a query string to this web application firewall, this app gateway IP address. And let's see how the WAF is going to catch this. So this is a null byte injection attack, and it's a layer 7 attack. So as soon as I try to append this attack, as you can see, we get an immediate 403 forbidden by the application gateway, which is, since it's in the prevention mode, it's blocking this attack and it's not letting us do it. So I'm going to do the same attack right now on our firewall and see how that's going to respond for the layer 7 attack. So as you can see, the firewall hasn't really catched this attack, and it's just let us do it, and we were able to go to the backend as usual. So that's a null byte injection attack, which is a layer 7 attack. So let's also do a few more here for the layer 7. So going back to the juice shop, I'm going to do a quick SQL injection attack. So here I'm going to enter an SQL injection parameter, which is a really simple, straightforward SQL injection parameter. You can see here 1 equal to 1. And ideally, the Azure WAF should be able to block this. So as you can see, we get a 403 forbidden once again. So Azure WAF has blocked this SQL injection attack. which is in the body of the request. So now let's do the same thing with the Azure Firewall directly. So as mentioned, the Azure Firewall directly, the entry point directly goes to the VM, and the WAF is not in line here. But when you're going via the WAF, you're hitting both via the application gateway, you're hitting both the WAF and the firewall for protection. So when I go through the firewall directly, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to enter admin and the same 1 = 1 SQL injection password. And when I log in, as you can see, it doesn't throw us an error. It just says it's an invalid email or password. So here, these steps clearly show us how WAF specializes in layer 7 attacks. So we can also look at a few more use cases where WAF is really helpful. So this is the application gateway WAF policy that I have. As you can see, this is in prevention mode. And so this is the WASP, like Shabaz mentioned, these are the rule sets that we have. In the managed rule sets, OWASP 3.0 is what has helped us protect against these cross-site scripting attack and the SQL injection attack and the null byte injection attacks that we've just done. And then we also have the custom rules here. So here I have 2 custom rules. So these custom rules are really helpful when you need some customized, rules for your own environment or your app context. So I have a JS challenge rule here, which is going to come into picture whenever I go to the path/FTP, and it's going to throw me a JS challenge. And so we're going to test how that's going to work. I also have another rate limit rule specifically for the path/login, and it's going to deny my traffic if I go to the same login page 10 times under 1 minute from the same client IP address. All right, so with that, let's give that a try with the WAF and see how that's going to work. So for the /FTP, when I click on this specific page here, you can see how there was a quick JS challenge. So this was the /FTP that we refer to, and this JS challenge that happened just in the background really quickly checked if I'm a malicious bot or a real user. So this way you can use these rules to customize it for specific paths or specific URI strings or as required. We can also see how the rate limit rule and see how that's going to work. So I'm going to go back to the login page because that's where my rate limit rule is being applied. And then I'm going to enter a random password. And I'm going to try logging in a few times, about 10 times. And after 10 times, you can see that we get a 403 forbidden. So this is the rate limit rule that's being applied here. So you can use these custom rules for multiple things such as geo-filtering, JS challenge, and a lot of options here. So we can also take a look at these in the logs here, see how WAF is going to catch these in our log analytics. So here we go. All right. So this is the IDS logs, but what we need is the WAF log. So as you can see, here is the file secret. Okay, give me 1 second. So here is the file. Here's an null byte injection attack that we did with it, which it was able to catch and deny the traffic. So it blocked this, and then we also had the user login that it blocked. So we can see how it's able to catch these attacks and block it. So these are a few examples. So now let's get to the firewall and see how the firewall itself is able to catch some attacks, both layer 7 and layer 3 and 4, that the WAF may not be able to catch. So here in the firewall, I'm going to do a quick so I'm going to do this attack directly on the app gateway itself because we do have the firewall behind the application gateway. So this way we can see, both of these services in line and how if one of the service does not catch this attack, the other one is able to catch it. So I'm going to insert a quick attack here, which is an etc password, which is considered as a path traversal or an information disclosure attempt. So I'm going to do that. So as I append this, as you can see, it doesn't give us an immediate 403. So which means the WAF is not catching this error, but at the same time, we're not able to get to the back end. So this is because in the backend, the firewall is able to catch this etc password pattern as a information disclosure attempt. So eventually we'll be getting a 504 because the backend doesn't respond, as you can see here. So we can find these here in our logs. If I look for the Azure Firewall IDS logs, you can see that it's catch this as a etc password detected, and it's dropped this. So we can clearly see how having these services inline really helps us, where if one service doesn't catch it, the other catches it. And also, I'm also going to do a quick Nmap test here, which is doing a port scan, which is a layer 3, layer 4 attack. So here I did an Nmap because this usually takes a bit. So I did an Nmap scan to the firewall IP address, and I also did it on the application gateway IP address. So when you do it on the firewall, if it's a layer 3, layer 4, so even in Nmap you have you can do an Nmap on the you can do an SYN Nmap SYN scan, which is a layer 3, layer 4 attack, which only the firewall will be able to catch it because it's a layer 3, layer 4 attack, whereas the application gateway itself will not be able to catch this attack. So I've run that Nmap scan, and then let's look into the IDS logs to see if we can find these Nmap, if it's catching those Nmap logs or not. So usually it takes a few minutes, but I've done this test a couple of minutes back. So let's see if we can see this logs here. I'm just gonna reduce this so I can get this. All right, so let's look for this Nmap logs here. As you can see, we've got this Nmap scanning as because these are layer 3, layer 4 attacks that the firewall is able to catch, which the app gateway may or may not be able to catch. So just to understand how these different services are able to catch different attacks at different layers here for us. All right. So with that, let's look at a few more attacks here. We're going to log into the backend. So we're going to log into this VM that's behind this firewall here and do some outbound tests via the firewall and see how the firewall is going to, filter and inspect this traffic for outbound. So one of the very important use cases for the firewall is to also scan the outbound traffic, filter it, and inspect it. So let's see how that works. So I've used Bastion and I've logged into the backend right here. So let's do a few tests here to understand the outbound scenarios here. So what we saw just now until here was a lot of this inbound traffic for the firewall. So now we will be looking at the outbound traffic. So let's start with just doing a curl to see if the traffic is able to get to the backend, to the internet. So I'm going to do a quick curl to bing.com. As you can see this verbage, we're able to connect to bing.com and we see all this verbage from Bing. So now I'm going to do a curl to bing.com with a user agent called Haxaman. So Haxaman is basically a malicious user agent. So it is associated with known exploit traffic and bot activity. So this rule, the rule is configured for Haxaman to alert and deny, meaning any HTTP request using this user agent, Haxaman will be blocked. So let's see how if the firewall can do that. So as you can see, when I connect to bing.com using the same Haxaman, using the Haxaman user agent, we are not able to get connected. So And then we can go back to the logs in a few minutes and see how this will be flagged as an IDS attack. All right, so let's do a few more. So I'm going to also do a curl to a malicious FQDN. This is for test purposes. So I'm doing a curl here to test malicious domain. So this is a test domain. So this is, let's see how that works. So I'm gonna, when I do that, again, you're not able to get connected to this domain. So the threat intelligence that the firewall has will flag this as a threat intel, as the malicious one using its threat intelligence, which is constantly updated from time to time. So as you can see, again, we're not able to get connected to this malicious domain. And we can again go back to the logs in a bit and see how that works. All right, so that's one example. So one more I'm going to try is to download a file from the ICAR website. So ICAR file is antivirus vendors agree to treat this file as if it were a virus to simulate detection and response workflows. Therefore, when we try to access this file, we will be able to download it, although it's for test purposes it's considered malicious. We will not be blocked because IDPS, Azure Firewall IDPS has this as only for alert, not really deny. But you could definitely go back and change it to alert plus deny. So let me go ahead and go to this and let's download this file. So as you can see, I went to the ICAR website and I'm downloading this ICAR file, which has some malicious content in it. So I can quickly look at it. I mean, we don't have to look at it. So this is the ICAR file, which has the malicious content. So now I can show you the logs, which hopefully if it's accumulated by now, shows all the threats for us here. So let's see. All right, so here we can see the user agent Hatsaman, which is flagged as IDS here, and it's being dropped. So this is for outbound sourcing from the backend VM going outbound, and we can see how the firewall is filtering this traffic. So then we can also look at the threat intelligence, and we can see how the firewall has flagged this IP address, which is the test malicious FQDN that we were trying to reach as a threat intelligence category because it's malicious. And then we'll also see the ICAR as an alert eventually, because there's a little bit of time it takes to accumulate this, but we will see ICAR. So not yet. So let's give it a few minutes for that. So in the meanwhile, we can also look at the firewall and see all the different rules it has and how they're useful. So we have these DNAT rules, which allow only specific traffic. So this is extremely helpful when you want to really restrict traffic based on the source IP, and you don't have, and where you don't have to allow all of the source IPs to enter your backend. And by using DNAT rules, you can you can do a port, also change the port that you can translate the port, you can translate the IP address, and configure these rules so you can access the backend. Then we have the network rules, which is extremely helpful to filter traffic between subnets, between VNets, for outbound, inbound. So this way, when we talk about zero trust, when we talk about defense in depth, we also want to make sure we're filtering traffic even inside your network, between your subnets, between your VNets, so that even if some malicious traffic gets into your internal network, you can still be able to filter and look for malicious activity. So it's really helpful to have rules here to filter the traffic, and our threat intelligence and IDPS is able to filter this traffic for internal traffic for any kind of malicious activity. So then we also have these application rules. So application rules are extremely important and useful. You can use this to deny or allow traffic to very specific FQDNs like Microsoft.com, Azure.com, or FQDN tags. You can pick from these FQDN tags and allow traffic or deny traffic to those. So you can let traffic out only for Windows updates, for Windows 365. Then we also have web categories. So using web categories, you can allow deny traffic to specific categories that we have. So that way, you can have really good control on the traffic that your internal network is accessing. And then you also have URL-based filtering, where you can specify the URL specifically. And you can also turn on TLS inspection, where you can decrypt the traffic and look into the payload for any kind of attack patterns. And then you can specify the protocols here. So these are all the options you have with the firewall, where you can use them for thoroughly inspecting your traffic inbound and outbound. We can also look at the firewall itself. So you can also use the new feature, which is a packet capture, which went GA recently, to kind of troubleshoot the firewall, look for any, see how the firewall is sending or receiving this traffic. So this is extremely helpful. So please check this out. So that's kind of what I wanted to show. So basically, through this test, we've observed how Azure Firewall protects both inbound and outbound traffic. So for outbound, it detects and blocks connections to known malicious destinations via threat intelligence and IDPS. For inbound, it monitors and blocks network layer and protocol layer exploits through IDPS signatures, as well as certain application layer attacks, as we saw in an example of path traversal attack, where the firewall was able to catch it when the WAF did not catch it. So having them together is extremely helpful. So another thing I wanted to show using the logs was also the NAT rules, where we can see the DNAT happening here. As you can see the TCP request, we can see the traffic coming in from the source IP, and then it's getting DNATed to these private IPs. So that's kind of how the DNAT is working, and it's we're getting connected to the backend without allowing all the traffic. So these are some use cases for the firewall. We've also looked at Azure WAF, which focuses on the application layer, inspecting inbound request bodies, headers, and cookies to stop web-based attacks like SQL injection, XSS, and bot abuse. We've also looked at the logs for the Azure App Gateway, which was able to block layer 7 attacks, like we saw here. And then we were able to look at the firewall itself, which was able to stop the Nmap and some of the layer 7 attacks also using its signature database. And definitely we looked at the outbound traffic and how it was able to catch a lot of the outbound attacks, malicious traffic, etc., using both the threat intelligence and the IDS. And then we also looked at the DNAT and how, and the DNAT and the NAT rules, and how those are very important. So used together, these services deliver comprehensive defense in depth, embodying the zero trust model across your cloud environment. So thank you. That's kind of what I wanted to show today. If you have any questions at any point right now, just let us know. But thank you for attending. All right.
Thanks, Sai. Yeah, we have a few questions. They're still coming through, so I'm just gonna ask the ones first that haven't been answered yet, and then we can review just some that were really good questions. So the first one says, are the next gen firewalls within Azure offer AI protections?
Yeah, I can take that one. Currently, we don't have specific AI protection within Azure Firewall, but if you have any specific use case, we are happy to learn about it. But as of now, the protections we have in Azure Firewall is more on the layer 4 to layer 7 protection based on signatures, which is IDPS and TLS inspection that we discussed.
Awesome, thank
and
you.
And also threat intelligence, yeah.
Perfect. And the next question says, does WAF rate limit rule block all requests above a certain threshold?
Yeah, that's correct. So once we have the rate limit rule configured and we have a specific threshold there, Let's say in the example that Sai demonstrated, we had a threshold of 10 requests within a minute. So once it was reached, all the further requests will be blocked.
Perfect. Our next question says, we have a website on a non-Azure hosting with some basic WAF and Cloudflare. Is it possible to use Azure WAF and Azure Firewall for this non-Azure hosted website?
Yeah, great question. So we can use Azure WAF for the non-Azure hosting as well, as long as we have the backend configured on the Azure App Gateway to this outside IP address. We'll be able to protect all the traffic going through that.
Perfect. And then let's see, our next question says, does Azure WAF have predefined rate limit for robot.txt?
So generally, there are some bot category rules that we have. So those will limit any bot traffic basing on the classification and the type of bot that is coming in, but not specifically rate limit. It's a combination of all different techniques that the rules will enforce. It's not just rate limiting.
Perfect. And our next question says, if we have multiple public IPs on AFW, does AFW use all of them for SNAT?
Yeah, that's correct. So when we have the multiple public IP addresses configured, so when the traffic is going out of the firewall, one of the public IP address will be randomly chosen to send the traffic out.
Great. Okay, and then our next question says, are all three SKUs capable of catching these basic attacks that were in the demo today?
Yeah, so for like I mentioned, the basic SKU is targeted for cost optimization, basically for the small medium business segments, and it's very good at blocking layer 4 level of attacks. However, if you're looking for advanced threat protection, like IDPS features or TLS inspection, URL filtering, we recommend using the premium SKU of the firewall, which comes with all of the features I just mentioned, along with threat intelligence, alert and deny.
Great. And looks like our last question says, do you need both AFW and WAF for web apps?
Yeah, so I think that's the gist of this demonstration today. So it's always recommended to have a defense in depth approach with a layered protection in place. So having both firewall and WAF will definitely help catch various threats at different levels of the stack. So yes, we need both of them.
Perfect. Great. Well, I think that is a perfect place to stop for us then. So thank you so much, Shabaz and Sai, for being our guests today and for sharing all of that great information with our community. Also, thank you to our Q&A team who helped us with answering questions and providing really good information. To all the listeners who are still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on the topic we just covered or any other product-related questions, please feel free to raise them on our Microsoft Tech Community Discussion Space at aka.ms/ANScommunity. Thank you all so much for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.